Om Shri Sadgurave Namaha. I bow down at the holy lotus feet of true Guru, whose words of wisdom are like mighty sunbeams to dispel the ignorance darkness. Guru, the beneficence personified, takes the disciple to see or meet the God. I offer my humblest obeisance to such a benevolent Guru. Guru, blessed is he whose glory is indescribable in words. Whatever little I could or would say is only because of his compassionate grace. Oh, welcome viewers. Today, after a long time, I have my friend, my Guru brother also, Mr. Kameshwar Prasad Singh.
Jai Guru Sahib.
Welcome you.
Thank you.
If you remember, we had recorded one conversation long back, and today, luckily, 2 3 days back, he has visited our city. So I thought, why not say grab this opportunity and hold another say conversation for the benefit of our viewers. So I welcome you once again.
Thank you, sir.
And what is it you would like to converse us all about?
Thank you very much, sir. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru, Jai Guru.
In the story narrated in the previous episode, that is 14th, you had talked of the differences between awareness of waking and the dreaming states. What these differences indicate or imply? I mean, do they give any hint about the only real element that is God?
Very well said. Uh, if you remember, in the previous episode, we had talked about the story of King Janak, wherein he had seen a horrible dream in which he was vanquished, taken prisoner, and then extricated of his own kingdom and had to go through a lot of turmoil and strife. But when he woke up from his dream, he found that nothing that he had seen there existed. And this perturbed him so much that he could not believe that which one of the experiences was real, that which he saw in his dream, or that what he was seeing when he was so called in waking state. And this question he had put to one of the enlightened saints called Muni Ashtavakra, and he had replied that nothing of the two was true. It is you who are true. Now, when we look at this example, then what do we find? That whatever we see in our dream, actually, is there any object there? We are sleeping in our bed with our eyes closed or maybe half open also, and we start dreaming. We stay very much where we are in our own room, but still a whole new and weird, say, world emerges before us. Are any of the objects that we see in the dream actually exist? No. But so long as we are dreaming, all those objects appear so very real, isn't it?
Yes.
We see all kinds of, say, buildings, friends, persons, things, if we are walking and, say, believing that it's a dream state and we keep on walking, even if there is a wall in front of us, then in our dream will collide with us, with that wall, and it will naturally hurt me also. Yes. So all the experiences and objects there are so very real, so long as we exist, continue to exist in that state of dream. But as soon as that dream ends and we wake up, then we find that all that was an illusion. It simply did not exist. Nothing of the objects are there. And now I start seeing that I am in my bed. Okay, the room around us, the house around us, the people around us, they appear to be very. Now the question is that how do we know that this one is true? Okay, or not?
Yes.
Because just as all those trees, things, say sea beaches or whatever we were seeing in our dream, nothing actually existed, but everything appeared so real.
At that time.
Yeah, it could never be said that anything of out of those that we have seen is un. But when we come to the wakeful state, and now we say that no, 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 that was a false experience. It never existed. But what about this state? What we are seeing, they are also exactly as real as they happen to be in that dream state. So this also could be a dream state. And the enlightened people, the sages tell us that yes, it is also a dream. Because they say, as Shankaracharya has said in his Vivek Chudamani, that everything is actually, in fact, a creation of our mind. It is the mind that constructs everything and presents it as very real. This happens in dream state and this happens in waking state. We remain for the most of the time in our wakeful state. That is why we consider this as real and that as an. But only because this state stays for a longer period, can we say that this is real and that is unreal? And what happens when we slip into the state of deep sleep? Then neither the dream world nor the waking world exists. Everything is gone, nothing exists. And what happens when we are in deep sleep state, dreamless sleep state? Our mind is also asleep. It is not functioning, and therefore there is no world. So this gives us indication that all this is construct of our mind. And if somehow we could think of a method, we could try a method which takes us beyond this mind, which helps us to get rid of this mind, then all these experiences would vanish. And then what would remain is the reality. See, the awareness that I slept remains even when we are in the state of deep sleep. Otherwise, who knows that I slept? So long as we are sleeping, our mind is not working, our intellect is not working, our senses are not working. But when we get up, we said, oh, I had a very sound sleep and I feel so fresh. Who knows? Who records this that I slept? There must be something which remains active even while all our external and internal organs are completely, say, out of action. So that is, sans say, the real. And we must strive to take us into a state which lies beyond all this, what they call as BMI, body, mind, and intellect. So is there any method? Then sans say yes. These natural, say, our transition between these three states, it is an indication that it is possible to rise beyond this mind and intellect. That is example. The example of deep sleep gives us at least this idea that there is a possibility of leaving the mind and intellect. But what is the problem when we are asleep? That we are almost, say, good for nothing. We don't know anything. We are completely ignorant. If somebody is sitting beside us and planning to kill me, hurt me, I am completely unaware, ignorant of that. So this is not a good state. So is there anything else, any other method which could take us beyond this mind and intellect, and yet we remain aware also, we remain alert also, we remain knowledgeable also of everything that is happening around us? Is there any method? Some say yes, and they say very emphatically yes. And how that would happen? Then
In
this.
in that question arises, who would see this God? That element is known as God, uh, some energy. Who would see that God? The mind or intellect? Question arises, who will see it? Mind is already gone. We need to go beyond the state of mind. Then the question arises, who will see it and how it is
Yes,
possible?
very, very pertinent question you have raised. And say we had got an indication of this in some of our previous talks, where I had said that God, what is God? God is all pervading. And that which is infinitely pervading has to be infinitely minute or subtle also. And that who would be able to cognize such an element, okay, which is the minutest of all, must be as minute as God himself. And we had seen that such a battery is dying. And we had seen that soul is only capable of seeing him, because soul, being an ever inseparable part of God, is as subtle as God himself. And therefore this would have the capacity of realizing him. Just as we had taken, if you remember, the example of say space, hut sky and outer larger sky. We had seen that the hut sky or house sky is an inseparable part of the outer greater sky. Rather, say it's not part, it is the sky itself. What creates an illusion of it being a part of the outer sky is the walls, the floor, the roof, that create a shell, that create a sheath around this part of the space, which continues through the walls, which create the illusion of being it separate. And passing through that wall, that space is continuing through the outer space also. So they are one, they are not two. It's not a part in the sense that we take an apple and take out a small part and say, see, this is the part of this whole apple. It's not in that sense. They are ever connected, they are ever single entities. Similarly, the soul also is an ever inseparable part, or well nigh, it is the same as the God. So, not the mind, not the intellect, not our senses, because they are too gross in comparison to God, are capable of seeing Him. It is only the soul which is stripped of all the outer coverings, then only the soul will be able to go. So the answer is that the soul would see.
Next question arises, what happens when one rises above all cells of our bodies? You had once said that increasing order of subtlety leads towards unity. Will you elaborate upon this?
Sure. Yes, very, very nice. That is, the question is that if we could learn a method and practice it and go on rising above each and every layer, each and every covering that keeps us separated from the one whose part, inseparable part we are. So as we go on transcending all these layers, then what happens? See, we have seen, and we'll see this in greater details in our say forthcoming talks when we start talking about the scheme of creation of this nature, how different layers or spheres came into existence. Most probably that should be our next topic of our next talk. So there we'll see that the whole creation could be divided into broadly two major parts. One that is known as conscious creation and another that is known as non-conscious or inert creation. That inert creation nature is also further subdivided into four parts: supracausal, causal, astral, and the gross universe in which we live. This is a gross universe, grossest universe, and we inhabit this with our gross bodies. As we go on transcending, rising above each of them one by one, increasingly we draw ourselves nearer and nearer to that ultimate reality, that supreme sovereign. And as soon as we transcend all the non-conscious or inert creation and we move into the conscious creation, which is known as Kaivalya or Chetana Prakriti, with our conscious bodies, then that wheel, okay, that cover is so thin and transparent that it gives us a clear glimpse of what we really, that is, when we rise above the uh, non-conscious creation and we establish ourselves into the conscious creation, we start seeing God, but still there is one partition, there is one covering, there is one layer. And when we pierce that also and come out of all that has kept covering us, then we find that we are no longer separate from God, we are God. That which is said in our Vedas, Aham Brahmasmi. Aham means I, Brahma means that supreme say reality, and Asmi means am. I am that. And this becomes our experience when we descend from that state. Because so long as we are even beyond conscious state, then we have become one with God. Okay, we have become God. So who is there to see? Who is there to know? Because for knowing, for seeing, for hearing, there must be at least two. The one who sees, so there is a seer, there is seen, and the process of seeing is happening. This is known as triad, triputi in Sanskrit. That is, I am hearing. So there is one who is hearing. There is some sound to be heard, and the process of hearing is happening. So this three is a combination of three is known as triputi. But when we have crossed even the conscious sphere, there is only one. So who will know whom? We come to know that I am the God when we descend and come back into the conscious space. And then we say, oh, I was that. I never knew that. Okay. So when this happened, when we started from our gross level and started practicing a method which made us more and more subtle, 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 subtle. That is, as we go on assuming increasing orders of subtlety, we find that we are moving towards unity. Try to explain this with an example that suppose I am looking at you and you are looking at me. So what we find, we are two different bodies, okay, with some outer coverage or covering of skin, etc. And then we are say this is our nose, eyes. But suppose I replace my eyes with an X-ray machine and then I move it around your body. Then what I will see, if I am there in my, say, my eyes have been replaced by X-ray vision, then what I would see an assemblage of bones only. And similarly, I look at some other persons, there also I'll find an assemblage of bones. Even if I look at animals and birds, there also I will not see their outer appearance. What I would see is only bones and bones only. So then suppose we are talking of different persons, it will be different. It's a very difficult to identify who is that person because now that personal identity is gone. What we are seeing is only bones. which makes it very difficult to identify. And take this example further. And suppose we replace our eyes with microscope, electron microscope, and then again try to look at you. Look at the computer which is recording our talk. Look at the walls, look at the chair, look at the cow, look at the, say, deer, lion, fish. Anywhere we look, what we will find that there is only a sea of electrons, protons, and neutrons. If somebody asks, are you seeing Kameshwar ji? Then what would be my answer? Sorry, where is he? I can't see anything. I can't see anything. What I can see is only electrons, protons, and neutrons. Where is he? And now look at the beauty of this experience. That when I am looking at you, I can't see you as Kameshwar Prasad Singh. I see only an assemblage of electrons, protons, and neutrons. But what is more, say, stunning than this is that if I look at this computer or the table or the walls, which are non-living things, even there I find the same electrons, protons, and neutrons. If I look at an elephant or a lion or a cub, then there also I don't see anything. That is even the difference between men and animals and insects, and what to talk of living world and non-living world also vanishes. Okay, what we see, we are not able to distinguish between living and non-living beings, because what are left is only sets of electrons, protons, and neutrons. So see, diversity has reduced. Now only in India there are around, say, 130 million people. And if we start counting different animals, insects, birds, fishes, etc., then where this count would take us to? And then various buildings, other non-living things, then even trillions or quadrillions will be a small number. So these many varieties, they exist very much in front of us. Why? Because we apply this eye, these eyes of ours, which are made of flesh. And because these are too gross, and therefore we see a multitude of things and persons around us. But when we make it subtle and convert this into to the level of electron microscope, then that distinction between living and non-living world also vanishes, and only three things are left. And if it, say, things would allow, if we could replace that with a quark scope, that is, even these electrons, protons, and neutrons, they are made up of quarks. So if we replace our eyes with quark scope, if say I'm allowed to use that term, then what I would see all around me, now even that distinction of electrons, protons, and neutrons is gone. What I see now is only quarks. So see, as I am going to make my vision subtler and subtler and subtler, then what is happening? Even at the gross level, we have not moved beyond gross level. Even we are still continuing. Papa, back here. Papa, but even when we are living at this gross level, only by increasing our subtlety, what we find that diversity reduces and we are moving towards, say, decrease in diversity or uniqueness. बैठिए पापा थोड़ी देर, बैठ जाइए थोड़ी. So I hope you agree with this. And now, say, he had to, say, leave his chair a bit for a very important call. So nice back. Now suppose the soul, which is much subtler, subtlest of all, if we remove and replace our eyes with soul scope. That is, we take our vision to such a level of subtlety where we have soul vision, SOUL, soul vision. Then what we would see, the same soul thriving everywhere. Wherever I look at, even in quarks, we have up quarks and down quarks. And then that we'll say bundle of energy. So you go on decreasing that subtlety. And when we develop that soul vision, then what happens? Everywhere we see the same soul that is. This is what our rishis, our sages called Atmavat Sarvabhuta,
Sarvabhuteshu.
is in
That is the,
all the creatures. Yes,
that is the true nature of the
that
God.
is the true nature of God. That is in all the creatures. It is me or it is the God that I see. I don't see any difference anywhere. I don't see any duality as such. There is only that non dual reality, ultimate reality that I see all around me. This is known as Vigyan, that is meta science or spiritual science. This is different from our physical sciences. Gyan is that I am a wise person and I know that God resides in all beings. So I realize that yes, I must not disrespect anyone. I must not insult anyone. I must not hurt anyone because the same God resides in all of us. This is, I realize at my intellectual level. But when I develop that soul vision, then what I find that who else than me is there whom I would insult or disrespect? Wherever I cast my glance, I find me and me only, or God and God only. Whom should I disrespect? And that is why when any person, he may be a wicked person, a thief, a dacoit, or a very, say, sober person, when they visit a true son, then they don't discriminate with, because actually they are seeing the same God in all of them. So who would they talk against? Who would they hate? So that is what we have to do if we want to really realize him. Then we have to make our vision subtler and subtler and subtler. And that's why I had said in that talk that increasing order of subtlety takes us, okay, the proportion, the extent to which we have become subtle, to the same proportion, to the same extent, we draw close to that unity also. So as subtler and subtler we become, we are drawing ourselves toward that supreme reality. And when we have become the subtlest, we have become that reality ourselves. This is the real or underlying principle of spirituality. So I hope I have answered
Yes.
this question.
It's clear.
So thank you
Quite
very
clear,
much.
quite clear.
Thank you very much
हाँ,
for visiting us and giving me, Papa, 2 मिनट बैठ जाइए.
This
So
discussion gives us further
insight.
questioning for going further into deep. We will come in next episode.
Yes.
Question will come out of this discussion. We will take on next year.
We'll try to build upon this because so far we have seen only that we have to say make our awareness subtler and subtler. How to do that? For that we have to understand that what is the scheme of creation of this universe.
Yes.
So in the next lecture we'll try to understand that how this universe, all the creation came into being from God. Once we understand that, then we know that what is the journey we have made to come to this gross world. And we have to reverse that journey to reach the destination which belongs to us, where we have been waiting for ourselves. So that for the next lecture, I must thank you with a bottom of my heart for coming and making this conversation, lovely conversation possible. I hope viewers, you must have liked this, but still, I'll request the same thing that please don't hesitate in letting your views known, and your feedback in improving these talks further would be a great help to us, for which we'll be deeply obliged to you. So kindly don't hesitate in letting what you think know to us. Okay. So thank you, each one of you. Those who have not subscribed to this channel, I'll request very humbly to please subscribe it and come back. Say Thank you very much. Jai Guru, Radha Swami,
Jai.
Satya Ram Sa, Vaheguru. Namaste.